a lot of cases, like between Ashley and I, we find our love in platonic friendships because that's where we have equal amounts of effort, of support, of motivation, and self-improvement.
Welcome to another episode of the Daily Humans podcast. I'm co-host Ashley.
And I'm Nina.
I'd say welcome, but I think that's overused, so I'll just say ayo.
Ayo. What's poppin', crew?
I don't know. Do you know what's poppin', Nina? What's poppin' for you, Nina?
You know, no, I just totally butchered that.
No. You just say
No.
Cleo.
No, Cleo.
I swear, it's the easiest thing for you to pick up. You've heard me so many times. Nina said it in a video call once where she's like, the way you just say no, it's so like, no. And I'm like, really? And I hear it now. No, Cleo. I can't even remember where that's from.
It's a TV show, I think. You told me about it before. Like a TV show back in Australia that was really popular back then. Between a Family or something? I'm not sure what it was called though.
I don't know if it was this mermaid TV show or not. I honestly cannot remember.
H2O?
I'm pretty sure it was like, yeah, I think so. I think.
Oh my God,
I never watched
that show.
H2O. Do you?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I can't relate with you on that.
Oh,
Aquamarine, that movie? I've seen that movie.
Okay.
But I didn't watch that. The TV
that's
show.
fine.
Sorry. that potentially is where it's from, but I don't know. I really don't know.
Well, it's beautiful.
Got the Thank you, Cleo. No, you're not Cleo.
Just before this podcast episode started, she and I were talking about how beautiful we are. But like, look at Ashley. She's a vision. She's a vision. Guys, if you're listening right now, I'm just going to tell you, if you're on Spotify listening to this and you can't see her, she has this beautiful, long, flowy hair that's curled to perfection and a beautiful sweater, not a sweater, but like a, what do you call that? It's not a cardigan, just like a shirt on that's like, it looks sweet and it's blue and it's like flickering in the light like diamonds. It's absolutely, she's just, and her face is just perfection. She is the most beautiful woman on this planet. Absolutely.
You missed something, my friend. You missed something. You missed the best part of all that you love the most. My watery eyes. Every phone call. You love when I dab. You love watching it.
It's the new move. It's the dab, you know?
Almost every time. And I feel like either my makeup's expired or the pollen is in my room. It's got to be one thing or the other. Or it's the compliments that you've been giving me since the moment I jumped on.
Yes.
She just showers me with it. Showers me. And then I sit there and I think, I gotta get out the dictionary and look at all the words I can use to just shower her in it, like just bombard her with it. Because I have all these thoughts of like how to respond, but it's like I don't have enough words. It's the same stuff. Yeah. Like you're beautiful. I've said that so many times. You're exquisite. Your contrition. Oh, there we go. Your contrition.
I don't know what that means, but okay.
I know exactly what that means too. You're empathic, I think it is. Yeah, no. I don't think it means that. I got it from a movie.
Okay.
Wrote Letters to Juliet. I got it from that movie.
Yes.
Have you seen it?
Yes, a long time ago. I should rewatch it.
You should. I love that movie. But she says to him, she wants him to apologize, and she says with contrition. So I think it's with empathy. So I think it is empathy. So you're very empathic.
Okay. I'm going to save that.
You should. It's a good movie. Come on, Nina.
Visit. up.
you're saying.
Here's a story about a little guy that lives in a
Lives
blue
in
world,
a blue
and
world.
all day and
All
all night.
night and everything he sees. Come on, Ian. He's just
It's
blue.
just blue,
Like
like him.
inside and
Inside and
outside.
outside, blue is
Blue his house with a blue little window and a blue Corvette, and everything is blue for him. And I gotta get my breath back. And something, because he ain't got nobody to
to
listen to.
listen to.
Ready? I'm
I'm
blue.
blue.
Da, da,
Dabba
da, da,
dee
da,
dabba die. Dabba dee dabba.
da, 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 da.
Oh gosh. Oh, you had to interrupt that with a little dance break.
We paused it so I could blow my nose and fix my eyeballs. Because like I said,
Oh.
hay fever, and then she started dancing, and I thought, please unpause it. I'm finished now, and I'm ready to party.
Yes. Oh gosh, it's been a wild time. So doing this episode now feels so good, feels so great, and to share this space with Ashley again, just full circle moment, I feel. But yeah, like something that Ashley told me about earlier, and this is something that I wanted to say to you as well, Ash, that I didn't think about. We're in February, right? And I'm not
Mm.
sure what is going what is going on energetically speaking, but or what planets are in what signs and whatnot. But Ashley said something along the lines of we're in Aquarius season, and that actually brought me to really have like a full realization of what my experience has been about over the last couple weeks or so since this month has begun, because it's been, I think I said that in probably every single episode since we started this year. It's like it's been a season of letting go. It's been a season of letting go, and
It's a year, honey. It's a year.
this week in particular, it's just been dropping. But I realized that this is really a time where we are letting go of the old and really welcoming the new. Aquarius is a lot about getting rid of restriction, the things that restrict us, and stepping into our full self. And that really opened up my eyes quite a bit recently. So when you said that earlier today, Ash, I was like, whoa, okay, life makes sense again.
That's why we really needed that little dance as well, because my
Yeah.
dear, beautiful friend has been through a lot the last week. And I think a lot of people have too, because I've seen it on Instagram, I've seen it on TikTok as well. Aquarius has just come and really just like wham, 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 everyone right in the face. That's what it
Yes.
feels like. So I think we definitely needed that little dance off. We should do it every episode because Pisces is coming up, and I think Pisces is a water sign, isn't it? No, is Pisces a water
Yes,
sign? Yeah,
water.
yeah. So more water, more emotion. Woo woo.
More
Do a
crying.
little dance.
Yay.
Make a little love. Get down tonight. We're
I
gonna
love
need
that
it.
song.
And then you say, oh, same. Such a bop. I swear. The 80s, 70s. Oh, get into that another
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
It's funny too, since we're talking about star signs. Fire is after Pisces, so it's kind of like emotion, tidal waves, and then the fire. We just come in and
Yes.
and then we come in with the rage,
Yes.
come in with the anger.
Yeah.
Hopefully not, but it's a stereotype. I think I just want to say this: it's a stereotype that Aries are just really angry people. We're not. We're not. I'm angry that you'd say that. It's such a stereotype.
Yeah.
No. It has been an interesting month, year, live.
Life.
I had
Yes.
it in my head again, see? Like in the last episode. Yeah, it's been very interesting. And that's kind of what we actually want to talk about this episode is what has been coming up this week for us. And it's been around the topic of love.
Oh,
L-O-V-E.
yeah.
Love. Do a little dance. Make a little love. Get down tonight. On a Sunday night.
Oh gosh.
Sunday fun day. I don't say that for no reason when I put it in our little bio to show off the episode. I mean it.
It's really funny because this conversation has kind of been, it's been oncoming, but I feel like recently it's really come into full fruition simply because it was Valentine's Day. I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of different opinions about that day in particular, but also love and relationships and all of that. And so today we kind of wanted to share our opinions, or maybe even our experiences, and have this be our own little community of love in our own way from us to you guys. I hope you enjoy the episode. And yeah, let's dance. Let's
Mm-hmm.
get it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have a good
Hey,
time.
Macarena. Aye.
Oh.
We're gonna get vulnerable. Talk about some real lovely experiences in the past dealing with relationships and the whole
Mhm.
shebang. We decided to unveil a lot of our past experiences with love and really just get down with the nitty gritty on the reality of that
Yes.
because it's been an experience. And it's interesting too because with February being the month of Valentine's, but also I just think the start of the year is a releasing. I've said this to you.
Mhm.
The start of the year just always feels like a releasing from last year. So I feel like it's been the topic of conversation for a lot of people. Yeah, just the whole topic that's been coming up about boundary setting and learning how to spot narcissism and weaponized incompetence has been such a topic of conversation. It really has, and I think it really matches into our past experiences and
Mhm.
what we want to talk about through our own journey of that, the own journey of, I won't even say love, really, just relationships. Well, I can say that personally. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the thing.
Yes, absolutely. You know, I think our culture in a lot of different ways really emphasizes love to the point where sometimes it can get a bit annoying. I don't know if anybody has run into that where it's like, oh my God, every
Mm,
song is a love song. Hmm. But I think love can be such a beautiful thing and it encompasses everything. And at least to me, it does, simply because love is the only thing, and this is going to sound really cringe for a sec, but I have to say it. Love is the only thing worth existing for, worth living for, being in the state of love, in the presence of love. And I think all of our lives really is about finding that within ourselves, within the people that we have in our lives, with where we stand in society. I think a lot of that comes from either feeling like we're not having enough of that feeling, or and that we need more, or that we've been hurt by people in the past and now are in a phase of like, well, I'm focusing on me. But it can also turn negative, unfortunately, in a lot of people, because if you have a lot of negative experiences in love, whether that be platonic, romantic, familial. It can really hurt so much of your identity and how you see connections with other people. I think we've talked a lot about that in the past when it comes to trauma and healing our inner selves and child self and all of these aspects and archetypes within us. But today, I kind of want to just dive deep and kind of start off with a question, if that's okay, Ash. I want to ask you a question.
okay,
What
go
does
ahead.
love mean to you?
She goes hard. To be honest, I'm still figuring that out.
Yeah.
I do not know what love is in relationships, and I didn't even know what love is or love was in friendships, nor anywhere for that matter. So I'm still learning about what it is and what it feels like, or more like feeling a little bit of it and then feeling okay to accept a little bit more in,
Mhm.
you know, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
And I actually learned that from my friendship with Nina. Nina was the first person that taught me about what love actually is in platonic versions. She really did. And I was like so afraid of it. I was terrified. I didn't tell her at the start, obviously, because I was afraid to even communicate with her. I was afraid it was going to have some repercussions or consequences. And I was afraid that she was going to be upset by the reality that it takes me time to even trust to then allow you in and then to love you,
Mm.
right? After diving in so quickly over the years, not with love, just sort of like what's the way to explain it? Diving in, I think, wanting that and being so open, but it not actually being that, if I'm explaining that right.
Mhm.
I think there's another way of explaining it, like I guess on the versions of people pleasing. From going through the moments of healing, I realized that that's not what it was. You kind of learn about love through healing, but feeling it is a totally different subject, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So Nina was the first one that taught me what love was, and still progressing on that journey to understanding it and fully incorporating it and fully understanding it and what it feels like and not being afraid of it. You know?
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I'm always very honored that you feel that way and that I was able to be that kind of person in your life because I think for me, when I think about what love means to me, it is choosing it rather I have to say this. I feel like this has come up quite a bit in my conversations and I do need to share this with the world. It's not an original thought, but maybe for somebody this will be something new. But love to me isn't just a feeling, it's also a choice. And for me personally, I've had bad relationships with friends. I've had complicated relationships with men, with family members. And so being a person that really values relationships, but also knows how scary it can be when you allow people access to you and how that can be manipulated very easily,
Mm,
it
yeah,
makes you more apprehensive when it comes to
exactly.
who do you allowed into your life and how you move forward and how you move in life as well. But
Yeah.
I have been able over the years through healing and through releasing a lot of stuff, and then also by meeting Ashley and a couple of other really incredible people in my life, that I've been able to heal kind of that hurt version of me that didn't want to let people in, that was afraid to let people in. I still have moments of that, but now I kind of see it as like circles in my life. I have my
Mm,
very close people. I have the people that are a little bit outside of that, that are friendly, but not super close. And then there are strangers. And for me, once you're in the middle, when you're in the main circle, that's when I give my all to you. You are, regardless of who you are or what kind of relationship I have to you, whether you're a friend, a family member, a romantic partner, I will give my everything for that person and make sure that that person feels heard, seen, trusted, and loved. And sometimes those
mm,
things don't work out, but when it does, it is a beautiful thing. And so to hear you, Ash, say that I've been able to give that to you to show you a new experience, that truly means the world to me because when it does go wrong in my life, it's always a moment of self reflection where I'm like, okay, did I do too much? Did I not do enough? You kind of self reflect and you take a step back, which I think is normal for everybody. But to have that kind of reconfirmation of the other people in your life that are like, listen, you're fine. You're great as you are. That really keeps me going. Love is not just a feeling. It's definitely a choice to keep showing up for the person that you love even when it's hard, even when times get tough. And recently, not to get too deep into it, but I was going through a breakup and going through all the stages of grief. Definitely had me in a world of not knowing up from down, and being surrounded by so many friends of mine that have come together, and we're just like, we're going to be here for you. If you need somebody to talk to, I'm here. You know, like I was on the phone with a friend of mine for almost like 3 hours, just like not being able to sleep and just being like, I need you here. I need somebody to just like be present. I was encompassed with so much love. Even on Valentine's Day, Ashley and I had like a little Galentine's party on the phone and stuff, talking about life and things we're going through, and being there and supporting each other and hearing each other out. And that to me, I think I've said this in past episodes before, but when you have real friendships, when you have real sisterhood, those relationships carry you through all the seasons of your life, regardless of where you're at. And being in a space where I felt so abandoned in the grief mind, but having in actuality be surrounded by so much love was like a really big circle moment for me personally, because it was like, oh, okay, I'm not alone in the world. I do have people that actually care about me and love me and want to support me and be there for me. And that is a really beautiful thing. And so, to kind of get to the end of this question and this answer to this question,
It's okay.
I get so deep with this stuff sometimes. Um, I think love, aside from it just not just being a feeling and also being a choice, it's also a gift. And if
Mm.
you're able to have it, if you're able to have people in your life that make you feel this way, that make you feel loved and supported, always, always, always treasure that and honor it the way it needs to be, because unfortunately this world just doesn't have enough of that. It doesn't have a lot of love. It doesn't have a lot of people who are in a position to give that love to others due to their own pain. And the more loving we can be, the better the world can become, in my opinion.
What come to my head as you were speaking as well is, and you would know of this too, the conversations that have been had as we were growing up of what love is meant to look like, and the whole idea that the prioritization of it should be within non-platonic relationships only, and that's
Yes.
where it should thrive, and that's what you should rely on. So I feel like society is ideation, an ideology of love and the concept of it and the feeling of it, even, which I feel like might be different with each individual. I'm just going to put that out there, but nonetheless is within what we've been taught within society's boxed version of it. Because when I think back to growing up, that was the whole idolized picture that you had to have,
Yeah.
Love is within this box of man and woman, and you have to meet someone in order to feel the true joy of life, because love is the true joy. That was the fed
Mm,
picture perfect image to you as a young teen, even a child.
right.
You hear about this kind of stuff, and then when you get older, you're like, um, so who created this? Because what love are you talking about?
Yeah.
What are you all talking about? Because all I ever see is certain behaviors that don't showcase the kind of love that you read about in certain books or that you hear about from other people.
Yeah.
Again, I always think about it with the way that Nina and I have unfolded in our friendship, and how I became close with her enough to feel like, okay, so when things happen to her from someone else's doing, I get so mad, you know? I guess it's this connection. It's this connection to want to protect, to want to help as much as possible, to want to be there, to want to listen and hear and validate. I guess that's where I make the connection. I'm kind of just saying this. I think I'm just thinking about it.
Yeah.
But I guess that's where I make the connection, is through how I feel when I do things. Even though it's natural and I naturally want to help and I naturally want to be there for people, it's the continuation of wanting them to be in my space and then me wanting to be in their space. It's a discovery.
What you said is really on point in the part of growing up. You were made to believe, and it still goes. Like, even when I watch romantic movies or TV shows, this still comes up where it's like your wedding day is the best day of your entire life. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, it should be one of the good days, like one of the
Mhm.
better days, a beautiful day. But should it be the best day of your entire life? I feel like your love, when you do have a partner and things like that, and this is coming from somebody who's never been married, sure, but I feel
Yeehaw.
like your love should grow. Your love should grow
Mm,
in time. So your wedding day, in my opinion, as of just as an outsider, should probably just be the day where you make that promise to somebody, and that's a beautiful thing, but the rest of your life together will be the story, will be the I don't know, the example of that, the growth of that love, the expansion
yeah.
of it. And as well with the whole, women are oftentimes being put in the position growing up of, you have to appease to a man, you have to, look a certain way or act a certain way when you're around boys. But then, and I'm not going to go into that topic because this is centered on love, but like then women are being forced to have responsibilities a lot earlier without the male counterpart matching up. So while girls are being raised to be homemakers, to cook, to clean, to, look after the children and their loved ones, the other family members, and that comes with so much responsibility in and of itself, which is unfair. But in the meantime, while that's happening, the boys growing up, they don't learn how to be a provider. They don't learn how to take care of a woman or the person that they love. They don't learn how to, support a household in the chores, in
Mhm.
the cleaning. Maybe that's something that's currently coming up, which, if in case, I would be very, very grateful. But in a lot of cases in the past, that just wasn't a thing. Boys were allowed to be boys. They could
Yeah.
date many women because that's what a man is, like all these
Mm,
toxic examples of life. And then you get to an age where you're ready to commit to somebody, and that person has no emotional maturity, or maturity in the sense of how to take care of a home, of a partner. And the woman, in often cases, is left holding the bag, is left taking the responsibility of everything. And nowadays we talk a lot about learning about our attachment styles and our psychology in relationships and with ourselves, and giving ourselves self-love. And I think those are really amazing things to learn about and to pursue and to, get a hold of and mend if you do have trauma. But I think today, in today's age, love, that whole category has opened up just a tiny bit more. It's not just between men and women. First of all, it's also many other genders, many other forms
mhm.
of relationships, many attachment styles.
Yeah.
But still, in a lot of cases, unfortunately, and I'm not going to say all men, because that is absolutely not true, but a lot of men, unfortunately, still have yet to catch up with that, with being a partner worth having. While the
Mhm.
woman is working so hard to be an accountable person in the relationship and show up and do this and do that, oftentimes,
Mhm.
unfortunately, that I've seen, and a lot of people talk about this as well when it comes to relationships, men choose the partners that they can see themselves with. And so when they are not capable of holding themselves accountable in a relationship, they run because it gets too hard. And yet again, the woman has to start from brand new and then do the whole thing again. And hopefully this time she'll meet a better partner. But where is the accountability? Where is the responsibility that we put on men and men to other men? So that is also something that I just had to kind of throw into this conversation a little bit, because while women are being raised to look up to princesses and having a man come and love them and, treat them right, in reality, the story is much different because there's still so much
Mhm.
disparity between mental health, the responsibility of the other partner, the other half of the relationship, and how much is healthy to contribute for each partner. A lot of people are talking about 50-50. A lot of people are talking about how men these days want to be the prize. And in all of that, what is not being discussed is the lack of education and responsibility that is being put on the male counterpart in a lot of these situations. Unfortunately, this does not go for all men. Like I said, I don't want to, start any wars on the internet saying that. A lot of women have to learn this too, of course, and it's not even about gender at the end of the day, but it just comes down to that. Unfortunately, from what I've seen and what I continue to see in society and see other people talk about, is that men, straight, cisgendered men, oftentimes have issues with that. And it's unfortunate because it causes more trouble and more trauma. And, you have this disparity between each community. And then a lot of cases, like between Ashley and I, we find our love in platonic friendships because that's where we have equal amounts of effort, of support, of motivation, and self-improvement, where we are able to discuss, hey, this hurt me, or hey, I need this, or I need less of this, more of that. You can have these conversations a lot more because there's not the, I don't know, the pressure. I'm not sure what it is that happens in romantic relationships, but there is more willingness to fight for it, to work on it. And yeah, not sure where I was going with that, but it just kind of flowed out of me.
That's okay. The conversation means a lot with the topic of love because it's something that's been a part of generations, and annoyance to this conversation really just comes down to people's uncomfortability with bringing things to light of what they've experienced in their journey. I've experienced seeing the unbalanced system between men and women. 100%. I've grown up hearing stories. It's definitely in the family unit. And it was put on to us as children, as women. It's definitely something that's been discussed of things that have occurred in the family unit and implemented systems that are what we would consider in this generation as a divide for reasons that I'm going to say are old belief systems, that women are emotionally immature, incredibly sensitive, incredibly overly emotional. We don't know what we're thinking, doing, saying. And I think a lot of women had to play that part too. I just want to say this. Back in that time, I think a lot of women played that part because it was a means of survival. And it's not a put down on men. It's nothing like that. It's not a put down on anyone, but it's reality. That's what it's about, having the discussions about reality. If people want to invalidate that, then you're just invalidating a lot of the experiences that women have had. And 100% the part that women are apparently meant to play in our society. I've definitely seen that, and I've definitely heard it, and I've challenged it many times. It's such a burnout to challenge that ideology that all you're made for on this planet is to grow a family and cook and clean. And that is your duty of service until the day you die. And that really affected me growing up because I thought to myself, well, is that it? That's just it in life? That's just it? I know we can get a job and stuff like that, but that's just it? You work, you do your duties, and then you die. That's it. And obviously, hearing that as someone who is not wanting to be in a box, that angered me so much. That generational ideology that's been passed down and the effects that it's had on people around me, women that I know. I think a lot of those thoughts, those belief systems are still a part of our society and they get projected, and you see them online. You see them online where younger people use them as jokes against women when they want to go ham on them. Go make me a sandwich. Go in the kitchen. That's your duty. That's all you're here for. La 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 la. You see it online. It's the first threat that gets made towards a woman when someone's feeling like her space is threatening. It's the first thing that people say online. And it's just, yeah.
You're right. I think a lot of times, this as well, just like listening to you speak, Ash, I had this come to mind. I think this is very much rooted in this whole, I will say it again, I feel like maybe even capitalism is to blame to that for that, simply
Mm.
because it is coming from a place of I need to prove my worth in the things that I do, in the way that I look, and how I relate to other people and what other people think of me. And I think that has kept a lot of these old beliefs in our, I would say maybe zeitgeist, in our timelines within the human generations that have come across. We are now, unfortunately, even in a situation where men, unhealthy, unhealed men, have weaponized that, and have started to really lean in on the whole, well, you're feminist. You have the same amount of money that I make, so why should I provide for you? Why should I look out for you? And it's like, you have still, as a woman, I say this as a woman, we live in a very male generated society. And that as a woman is very hard because our timelines, our cycles, our way of living and existing on this planet are very, very different to a male's way of living. Men, I think, if I remember correctly, have a 24-hour cycle, whereas we have what was it, a 30-day cycle where
I think it's
essentially men have
25,
25.
I
Okay.
think.
But I'm not sure on the specifics,
Neither.
but def definitely we take a lot longer. We have to sleep a lot longer. But
Yeah.
we live in a society where that is not possible, where there's only one standard way of living, and that is male centered. It is male oriented. It is for men, created by men. And as long as that exists, we can never be free. So while people can be online and talk about how to treat women and how to treat men and 50-50 relationships and what do you bring to the table and all this stuff, or like get the bag, get a rich guy, I feel like there's still symptoms of the same problem, because the issue is that we have not evolved as a society to include everybody. We either, women have to appeal to still men, or have to appeal to a system that is run by men. And now we have men that don't even want to step up and acknowledge that. Not all men, I'm saying this now. And I know they're good men. I know them. I have met them in my life. Nobody be triggered. Put the weapons away. But I
You
think,
definitely can't control it, my friend.
yeah, but I think unfortunately a lot of men have now seen the privileges. I say that with quotation marks, the privileges of being a woman, and see that as our base experience of life, as if that is the only thing we're worth existing for, that a man pays for us for dinner, that a man does this for us, provides for us, and we just stay at home and do nothing, quote unquote. That is not the reality of a woman. And we provide things to this planet, to people, to our relationships that a man cannot. And now we, unfortunately, again, are in a situation where men weaponize it and they want to use it for their sake. I think that in order to hold more space and to really grow into, it's gonna again sound a little bit cringy, into the frequency of love and coming from a state of love where we are really truly open to it and able to give it to one another, we also have to recognize that the society in which we live in does not serve that on many different levels, in many different ways. Capitalism on top of that, but also understand that the people who are participating in these, I'm not even going to say challenges, but just these behaviors of like, you either have to, I don't even want to point anybody out, but I'm sure people who are listening know what I mean, where people are looking for rich men, or on the opposite spectrum, men are looking for women to provide or bring stuff to the table. That whole conversation in and of itself is toxic, because it's not really allowing you as the human being, because you are not your body, you are the soul inside, to love and to be free and to experience life the way that you should be able to, in your best self, in your highest self. Mic drop.
Mic drop. At the end of the day, this is just about people's experiences. It's not about attacking anyone, and that's kind of the whole conversation that's being going around online, is the realization that it's just bringing things to reality. How do you solve problems if you're not willing to talk about them? If no one's willing to have the conversation and bring human behavior up to the front and say, hey, do you want to take some accountability and responsibility and self-assess and take a different pathway? How about we change the things that hurt human beings in the past and create new things for the future? And how are we going to do that if no one's willing to talk about it and everyone's taking offense? Like I said before, because this is something that in a lot of ways has been a part of many different families and many different generations, it has to be discussed in order to move forward, because it has affected people in so many ways. It's affected the element of what we've been taught is love. Love is consistently giving with no boundaries. It's just consistently giving to that opposite person. And for women, that was really the thing, is just consistently giving to children and to partner and to husband. Just give, 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 give until sacrifice. Isn't that what people say in eulogies at funerals? She gave, 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 gave. She did everything for the family. She even gave up herself for her family. And for me, I don't want my mum to do that. I don't want any woman in my family to do that. I don't want any man in the family to do that. Because you need yourself. Only you go through the health conditions and the issues. Only you feel that. Yeah. I don't want my mum to give up her entire life just to provide and care and do all this like she was doing when we were children. I don't want that to be a reality anymore. Just to say that in a eulogy, as harsh as that may be, no, I don't want my mum to do that. It's something I've really thought about when I've heard it over the years. And I think for women, this is the conversation that's continually had, is that they've given up so much. Why? Why? Because then we're worthy, then we're valued, then we're appreciated, then we're loved, because we're giving our feminine side to everybody and we're showing that to everybody, and we're so caring and giving. We don't have boundaries. We just let everyone walk in and take up our space. That's what I've noticed. That's what I've seen happen. It's not been an association with something they've actually wanted to do. You can tell it's just been a thing of, I have to do this. I have no choice. That's where these conversations come in, of where did this happen? Where do these belief systems come into play? Who taught them this? Because if it's not for their highest good, if it's not something they actually enjoy, if it's also not within the factor of caring for self, because you need to care for self. And that's the one thing I've noticed too, is that past generations caring for self is so warped. It's warped, and it's not in a fault either. It's not in a fault. You're taught what you're taught, you know what you know, right? We know better nowadays. We know that there are so many different pathways to it. But the art of self-care was seen as selfish. The art of self was selfish. And like I said, for women, it was, you had to show up. No matter how you showed up, even during the worst times of your menstrual cycle, you had to show up. Just the same with work and school. You had to show up, and you still do these days. Even if you're writing in pain, you have to show up. There's a lot more awareness on it these days, I'll say that. But women still have to show up. And it comes from somewhere. All of this came from somewhere. It doesn't exist out of thin air. It was implemented by human beings. The cycle of life for women. And unfortunately, a part of that equation is the behavior of men over the years, over the generations, I'll say, that still is reflected and projected to this day. And like Nina said, no, we know it's not all men. It can't be. Just like it can't be all women, right? But it's enough. It's enough to say, hey, people are affected, so let's acknowledge that. Acknowledge that people are affected. That's the be all end all. That's the mic drop. dot point, end of discussion kind of thing. The fact that people are affected by it, that's it. You can argue to kingdom come, argue to the moon, expands itself. I'm trying to think of something to say to that. Argue all you like and take offense all you like, but reality is that as long as human beings are going through it and have gone through it and are suffering because of it and have suffered because of it, it's a conversation that needs to be had. It's a reality that needs to be brought into the light. You can like it or lump it in my most blunt way possible. Because that's where I set the boundary. You can be afraid to have these discussions, because I have been afraid to have these discussions because I don't want to piss people off and I don't want to make it seem that, targeting men. But at the end of the day, they're experiences that the women in my family have had. They're experiences that I've had. I'm not going to put that away just for the comfort of people, to comfort their spaces, because they don't want to hear it.
We need to really have more of these conversations, because I think I've also heard a little while ago, I read this a little while ago, that majority of people who have, I'm not quite sure which specific type of cancer, if it was lung cancer or pancreas, it's one of the two, are mostly women, simply because we are not, I think now we're moving into a time where we're becoming more vocal and more, emotionally open with our experiences. But majority of the times, a lot of illness that we experience come from the fact that we cannot exude how we feel and what we need in our day-to-day lives, because it's just not supported. We get dismissed. It's a woman thing, and
Yeah.
it shouldn't be seen that way. And like you said, Ash, your health comes before everything, and your mental health comes before everything. And also, you should be in a relationship with people, regardless if it's platonic or romantic, but you should be in relationship to people that value that help you with that support you, where you don't have to carry the whole world on top of your shoulders simply because you're seen as the feminine in the equation of the
Yeah,
relationship. So it
exactly.
is it is really heartbreaking to see so many generations, even now, women still going through this in a lot of different sectors of society. And I am grateful that we're having these conversations, because it means we're getting better. I mean, I hope so. If not, then I hope it leads to us getting better. But love can be such a beautiful thing. Partnership, that is something, when I look at it, when it's healthy, can be one of the most beautiful things in the world. And we have to look at ourselves and see how our actions or lack of actions, our actions can either help build that up, build our relationships up, help build people up, or deteriorate them. Because I can say this from myself. When I've been in certain situations or relationships with people, oftentimes, because I love so strongly, it's like, what can I do more for that person to be better or to do better? How can I communicate better? How can I do this more? You are naturally, I think, as a woman in this world, willing to give so much because of your love, because our love is so big, so expansive. But there has to be a boundary on that. Especially if people can't value that or don't give you the same effort in return, because while you're in the stage of wanting to people please, that person is just taking, and they're only thinking of themselves. They're not thinking of you. They're reaping the benefits of you. They like how you make them feel rather than who you are, and help you pour into you and them pour into you as well. So it's just a lot of things to consider.
There's a lot of pathways.
Yeah.
But it all, at the end of the day, comes down to that in the entire topic, whether people connect the dots or not. This is one part of what was taught. That is apparently love, and it's breaking that down on
Yeah.
you creating your version of it that is healthy enough to sustain, but even help you grow, help you learn, help you evolve. Because in a lot of ways, like in general life, when things feel good, you can kind of connect that to the feeling of love, right? Platonic or relationship otherwise, right? But the main thing is doing things for highest good, doing things that feel good, and love is a part of that equation. And if there are some things in our society that is not contributing to the highest good of self, then we need to reevaluate it. Then we need to look at it. We need to assess it and change it. And this is what these conversations are for, whether people enjoy it or not, that's up to them. And we can't control that. But if it's something, like I said, that's affecting people, it needs to happen. And that's including, like, when you said there's a lot of pathways, there is, like, people pleasing and learning that that's not really love. That's an overexertion of trying to find worth and value in other people to have that for you, you know? And that's a whole different subject within itself. But people have actually connected that with love. And I get why, because I'm a former people pleaser as well. And so is Nina. People pleasers on the rise. Yes. We're former people pleasers, so we know. I definitely thought that was love too, just like what Nina said. But realizing that it's just really a need of things that you do not have, that you've never had. That's what it is, it's a need. And that's a part of this pathway as well, is learning about, okay, what doesn't feel good and what does feel good. People pleasing doesn't feel good, essentially, because you just keep wanting more and it's never enough, essentially. You just keep seeking and seeking. And when you don't have it, you feel like it's the end of the world.
Yeah.
That's not love.
Something that I also really want to mention and add is and I've heard this term ever since knowing Ashley a lot more, and I didn't think about it, but it just popped into my head as you were speaking. Rather than calling relationships boyfriend, girlfriend, 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 whatever, boyfriend, boyfriend, or husband, wife, 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 husband, husband, all these things, what we need to get back to is the phrase of partnership. That's my partner. I've heard Ashley say that a lot, partnership, and it really brings you back to it's both people that have to try and have to do the effort, bring in the effort, and take care of each other. And if that's not there, it will always be an unbalanced situation, an unbalanced relationship. And I hear a lot of people say that outside people, outside forces are a reflection of how you feel about yourself inside. But when you're in a partnership, that's not just you, that's also them and their internalized things, their unhealed traumas, their unhealthy patterns. And so I'm bringing this up just to say that the better we are with communicating this, as Ashley said, the more we are capable of bringing more balance and equilibrium back to love and loving others, loving ourselves, and living in the society in which we live. Yeah. It's a little bit of like introspective wisdom that I've gained since knowing Ashley and myself. Just like, it's a partnership. That's what it is. Not boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. It's a partnership. And that's not about 50-50, because sometimes you can be at 10% and the other person be at 90. It's just about effort. Both people bringing in the effort to make sure you yourself are okay and the other person is okay too. Yeah.
I'm not even personally a fan of saying boyfriend and girlfriend. I feel like that is, personally for me, I feel like that's just so high school teenager kind of thing. So partner, this is my partner. That feels like the now.
Yes.
That feels like adult, I'll say. But yeah, I definitely agree with you. Yeah, I definitely agree. You know what's funny too? That having a conversation about relationships, um, I have honestly learned about relationships purely from one, my studies, my advocacy journey, other people, books, but not real life. I I haven't had, I don't even consider it a relationship, but at the same time it kind of was, but it was 14, completely unaware of what this even was and what it entails, had no idea. And it was at that time it was not a good experience. It was not. And then crushes have been a part of that equation as well. That's really been the experience. But during like I said, during advocacy and learning from other people and then expanding my own awareness and then becoming more in the field and hearing stories. So expanding yourself out there more and more. I have really learnt so much, so much. And you would think that I would learn it a lot in relationships, but I've spoken about this before where I've said to people that you don't have to go through something to understand it enough. And I mean it. There are things that I haven't gone through that Nina's gone through, and I can hear, see, and validate her enough. I'll never understand the full extent of it because she's gone through it, but it's enough to, as I said, hear, see, and validate and have enough awareness on what she needs, even if I just ask as well. But I connect that with this experience here, even though I've never had a long term relationship or anything like that. And I'm glad that I didn't in the past because it was not meant to be a reality. And I'm glad it wasn't. I was not in the mindset or the space to even have that a part of my life. No way. Not experiencing relationships has not stopped me from knowing enough to create my own understanding and my own awareness on what I would desire. And it really, and that's the other thing too, it starts with also friendships and people in your life. And this is the thing too, it starts with people around you in your life, friendships, co-workers, family. And you're going to think, well, how? Well, they're connections in your life, right? They're people in your life. I really feel like it starts with them to understand what is your relationship with them like? What do you desire? Boundary wise, connection wise, what is it like? And then one thing that I learned in spirituality, and I think you and I spoke about this, is to write down the qualities that you'd like about a partner. Over the years of healing and over the years of becoming more aware and setting boundaries and looking for signs of gaslighting and narcissism, like becoming aware of that and other behaviors that I see from human beings, I created so kindness, someone that also has boundary sets too, someone that is caring. Like you kind of start making your list and you think, do I display that? Do I also have that in connections with friendships and family? Do they also experience that too? Like it all kind of brings together this learning of what you want in a relationship without even being in one, because it's what you want in a human being. It's what you desire to have from human beings as well as you desire to have for yourself. If I'm making sense,
Absolutely.
the love that you desire to have for yourself, the love that you desire from other people, incorporating that into a relationship, not a platonic one, a relationship. That's what I connected it as over the years. And now and that's another thing too, I have to say this. People classify it as high standards, and I find that a little funny that we've been taught that having qualities that are about someone's personality and all about someone's personality in making sure they're not arrogant, they're not rude to a waiter or waitress, that they're caring, having those qualities makes it a high standard. And that is kind of another thing that is kind of another thing too that connects to this topic, that people's ideologies of what is high standards is really just human. It's what you would desire for friends. It's what you desire for family. You should desire that for a partner as well. Caringness, respect, treat like a human. You want to be treated like a human being. Heard, seen, validated. If that means that I have high standards, then I have the highest standards bigger than Mount Everest.
Yeah.
I'll happily say that. But to be honest, I think it's kind of disappointing for people to consider it that when that is human. Everyone wants that.
Mm-hmm.
That is human. So to bring that back to what I was saying, if you haven't had experiences with relationships either, it's not a bad thing. And it doesn't mean that you're inexperienced, because that's the painted picture that gets fed to you, is that if you don't
Yeah.
have it, You're not experienced.
Yeah.
From some of even the crappy moments in my journey dealing with men, I've also learnt from those experiences what I do not want and what I do not deserve as a
Mm.
human being. That's the biggest thing. What I do not deserve. I've I I was awakened to my worth and value thanks to the behavior of a man, because I really did put a lot of my self-worth and value into other people. And then having an experience, the universe gave me an experience of a big crush and I hated it. Hated it. And I gave a lot of my self-worth and my value and me, my people pleasing, everything amplified to try to be seen by this person. And it was not. And it was crappy. It was a crappy experience and the behavior was crappy. It was horrible. I'd be crying in the car, begging at that time, begging for this to be gone because it just felt so dehumanizing. And once I implemented a separation, which is a whole nother story with other things, but once I implemented a separation between people and that ended and that was cut off, I don't know when it happened, but I realized maybe it might have been when I was journaling or with my psychologist. I think it was when I was journaling one day. I realized, wow, I really don't have any self-worth and self-value. I really just gave it to other people and then expected them to really build that up for me. And this was that awakening. That experience was the awakening of that realization to build my inner power.
Mm.
So I took that experience, even though it hurt me a lot, but I took that experience and I warped it for me. And I started to build my inner power and use it to build, to build, to build. And I used it also for the kind of partnership that I desire. I use that experience as well. So you don't have to go through a relationship to learn what a relationship is. Life will give you that in a lot of ways. Unless you maybe, it doesn't matter if you haven't experienced what I've experienced, but life shows you in so many ways. Like I said, relationships around you, experiences in your life, just there are things there that will show you, that will help you learn. But truly,
Absolutely.
I really need to say this, it's not high standards to have standards that are asking a human being to be a human being. Don't
It's the bare
apologize for that.
minimum. Yeah.
It's the bare damn minimum to treat someone like a human. Truly. Because I'm about over people doing the opposite of that. That's like at the top of my list. If I don't feel like a human around you, then you go marry an alien. Because there's no way in hell that I'm going to accept your space.
Yeah.
No way in hell. And you kind of see it. Nina, you've probably experienced it too, where you see certain behaviors out there, even online, and it's like, and I'm talking all people, and the behavior is just so dehumanizing. You think to yourself, you're not going to reflect on what you're saying and doing. But if you get into a relationship, you might not think it, but one way or another, what you're projecting outwards will be projected in that relationship. And I hope your partner knows enough to know what that behavior is and that it should not be okay. Oh, it's a big topic.
I have to add so much because you've dropped so many gems just now. It's just like, first, I want to just add and say, I don't know if you can remember this, Ashley, or if you've seen movies with this in it, but I can remember years ago when I was growing up, right? When the whole stereotype went around of women are so emotional and oh my gosh, how can I
Mm,
deal with a woman, right? I went back, I think it was sometime last year, and I started watching all the old rom-coms from before, and so
yeah.
many were so misogynistic, it is insane. It would blow your mind.
Well, can
But,
you name one? I beg you.
ooh,
Because I could name one too.
gosh, It's not coming to mind, but it had I don't know if anybody listening knows this movie, but it had Dane Cook in it and Jessica Alba, and there were like penguins and stuff. I can't remember what it was, but it was I saw the movie and I was like, oh, it's
Are you
like a
talking about
cute
like
little.
Mr. Poppins penguins?
No, no, no.
Well, that's
Definitely not
popped
it.
to my head.
Definitely
I'm
not
like,
it.
that's a kids movie. Oh my gosh.
No, but I went into it thinking, oh my gosh, this is gonna be such a cute movie. I haven't seen Jessica Alba in
Mm,
ages anyway. I love her. And so I watched it and I was horrified at how they like made women look in the movies. And I was just it comes with a whole different discussion anyway. But
yeah.
in so many movies growing up, I always saw there were these roles in these romantic comedies and stuff where like there was that friend that never got the guy that always cries about a guy and they
Yeah.
always leave her and blah blah blah. And so
The Duff.
she started making a list of traits in her partner that she wants, a man that she wants. And in every single movie where that topic has come up, it's always been put down. Every single
Yeah.
time. It's like, oh my God, that's so unrealistic. You're never gonna find a guy that's like the guy on your list. You need to go out there and live life. And like it's so much stuff. And like now being in the space of being a fully grown woman and having a list myself, like Ashley has said
Mm,
through her own experiences, it shows you the values of what you want in a partner and what you will not settle for. And the
exactly.
programming back then was so surrounded in these romantic comedies of like just have a guy, any guy, just if he comes and he tells you he loves you, that's it, the best man ever.
Fall at your knees.
Right.
Accept him into your life.
But you would realize if you actually had a list and standards that guy is not good enough. That is a bare minimum. And that goes into what Ashley has said, like being treated as a human being, the common decency of that is not supposed to be a high standard. And it has been pushed down by misogynistic, I don't know, a misogynistic society, people, I'm not sure.
Mm,
But it's just been projected so much that having standards is too much, quote unquote, too much. And that's not
yeah.
reality, because the only thing that these type of unhealthy, unhealed men tend to not understand, or maybe they do and they use it against us, which I wouldn't put past them, is that they would actually have to try harder and do more. And that's not what they
Mm,
want. So they tell you that you're crazy. They tell you that your
yeah.
expectations are too high, that what you want, you will never find. You should just settle. In fact, I've had so many friends, conversations with friends that have had people tell them, why don't you just choose somebody else? Why don't you just choose, just stop thinking about your preferences. Just choose a guy because it's
Yeah.
quote unquote easier. Choose a man that you're not attracted to. Choose a man that doesn't act the way that you want him to, just to have somebody next to you. And I'm sorry, but I think that that's not fair to yourself and that other person. Because if there is a person that comes around that you genuinely do not like or have any affection for, and you entertain them, if that person has feelings for you, even though you know this, that is you manipulating their better self, their half, their effort, their love for you. And so it's like a toxic cycle within society that keeps coming around and going, where it's just like, just pick any guy at all. And then the guys have super high standards and they drop you for in a second if they see something in you that they don't like. But women are supposed to put up with so much. We're supposed to be understanding. We're supposed to be forgiving. We're supposed to give, 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 give. And at the end of the day, have your list. I swear by this, have your list and continually update it as well, please, because it has saved me from so many difficult people in my life, not just romantic relationships, but also just it reminds you when you're caught up in the butterflies and the swirls and like, it's a beautiful man. I love him. And then you look at your list and you're like, does he actually exemplify the partner that I want him to be? The partner that I'm looking for, sorry. Does he
Yeah.
exemplify that? Because if he doesn't, all those lovey-dovey feelings, they mean absolutely nothing because at the end of the day, they're not going to give you what you need. So,
Yeah.
big topic, but It has to be mentioned. And also, I had to
Yeah,
add this in. Heartbreak is one of the biggest mentors and teachers in your life, even if it does not feel like it. I'm currently still in certain grieving stages and have to, maneuver myself around that. But in the meantime of while I'm healing, I'm learning what it is to pour into me. And I think that that's what Ashley really talked about as well. It's like when you have these experiences with crushes or with romantic partners or even with friendships, family members, it can be anybody, you learn through that heartbreak how to take better care of you and what you will not settle for next time. And that
exactly.
is, it can be your best friend. Not
Mm,
always. The feelings can be devastating. Even being in love or liking somebody, those feelings can be devastating, but
yeah,
it can be your biggest mentor. And you will
exactly.
become better afterwards. You will be better afterwards. So don't be afraid of the pain. Run into the storm. That's something that has come up in my life, that quote. Run into the storm, don't run away from it. Because while you are afraid and you don't know what's going to happen when you're in it, on the other side is a better, stronger, more stable you. And it will never, ever, ever be used against you. Whatever you learn in the storm, whatever you learn in the current situation that you're in right now, you will become a better version of yourself at the end of it. You just have to hold on. Take it moment by moment, day by day. That's my biggest advice to anybody out there.
That was that was beautifully said. It was the part two where you were talking about if it was if it's misogyny, if it's misogyny, patriarchy, or think back to when women were considered spinsters if they
Mm,
were not married by a certain age.
yeah.
Mm, that's still something I hear in this day and age, that if you're still not in a relationship by 30 or something like that, the ideology is placed on you that you're lonely, that
Mm,
you're incredibly lonely, and you must be incredibly depressed. You must be out of your mind and out of your sorts. Must be something wrong with you. You must be a part
mm,
alien. There must be something. That's still in our society, this
yeah.
ideology that you're only depressed because you don't have a partner. And when you haven't experienced a relationship your whole life, oh my gosh, that's like, I'm going to bring this into it as well. That's like the whole ideology of being a virgin. The whole
Yes.
stereotype and bullcrap made by humans
Oh my
about that.
goodness. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. If you're a virgin, if you haven't had a relationship, you're a frigid. Isn't that lovely what we've created for each other? That if
Mm.
your life hasn't unfolded in a certain way, that it means a bad thing. And
About you.
essentially, yeah. So then you settle. So then you choose certain relationships that you know you don't feel good in. So then you join with someone who doesn't treat you as a human being at all and makes inhumane choices, abuse, violence as great examples, because of loneliness, because of the whole belief system that are women should be looked down upon for being alone, for never being in a relationship, for never kissed anyone, for never experiencing certain things. And it's so silly when you say it out loud. It's so silly. Not everyone wants that. Not everyone's pathway can even unfold in that.
Yeah.
We're all different. And like I said before, and I'm a great example, right? My pathway went down a certain way because of ill experiences that occurred when I was a child. When I was just a child. When I was just a child, I learnt about how dark the world can be, how
Mm,
evil it is. So then through the years, navigating through many things that I won't go into just yet, and trying to understand where my safety is, which was nowhere. I could not be in a relationship. No way. I could never do the things that were expected of you as a woman, that you should do and that you should give. You should be
mm,
open and you should do all this. You should kiss, and the expectations of what you should be doing as a woman and what you should be having in your life and experiencing in your life. And if you haven't experienced that, then you're somewhat this, that, and this and that. And it's like you just such an illusion, doesn't cater for the experiences that many women have had. And like I said, no way in hell could I have experienced a relationship with who my teenage self was. No way. Even though, as like I said, even though crushes were normally a part of the equation, I'm glad it didn't move forward than that. Because I
Yeah.
wouldn't have been able to cope. I wouldn't have been able to feel safe in no one's company because safety wasn't a part of the equation. And that's also why I wanted to say too that when you find yourself in a situation where maybe you are with someone and there are a few unfoldings occurring, right? It's not about fault either. Because what I was saying before about the crush that I experienced and the dehumanization that a lot of that unfolded and how it made me feel and how it really affected me in seeing myself as well as all these other experiences that have occurred with men. I don't blame myself because I didn't know anything else. That's from day I was taught that that is my reality and that is the target and this must be a thing. This just must be a thing because as a child how do you interpret something that's happened to you, you know? So over the years of continued unneeded experiences with men, that's what I learnt from. And then witnessing behaviors and seeing it around me, that's what I kept learning from. And then as I got older, hearing things, oh, you should be experienced in this, you should know that. And then even hearing rumors too, people saying that, oh gosh, even hearing rumors that, oh, Ashley doesn't do this, Ashley doesn't do that.
Mm,
And me now, I sit here and think, yeah, I wouldn't want that teenage Ashley to do any of that for anybody because nobody would have made her feel safe enough. No one would have put that effort in. No one would have even tried to understand her point blank because no one did. There are so many blocks and there's so many pathways that many people go through that make this journey, having relationships, quite difficult. And there's a lot of healing that has to come from that. But we don't consider that. We just say frigid because that's an easy boxed way of doing things because we like to box things. We like to slap
oh,
label on
yes.
things and band-aids and then just be like, we're done.
Yeah.
We've acknowledged it, you know, while we've slapped a band-aid on it, and then that's just it. Well, you can't slap band-aids on reality because reality will bite you in the ass. People go through this and you find yourselves in certain situations with people and it's just a very unfortunate experience. It really is. Leaves you
Yeah.
in a few years of therapy, you
Yeah.
know. But coming from what I've come from, even though I didn't give a lot of context on it, because it's definitely not the moment that I'm going to give full context on it. But coming from what I've come from and using all of that to where I am today, I don't blame myself for any of those situations. I don't blame myself at all because I didn't know, but now I know. And a lot of people don't know. They still don't know. They think that's what love is. That is what appreciation is. Oh, well, even though this person just did that, you know, I think they're just mad at me because I said something wrong and that's just my fault. Like it's also that a part of it as well, that you are to blame, that you do everything wrong because you've been told that as well. That was one of my issues as well. I had an ideology that everything I did and do was wrong, that my existence was a punching bag for everyone else and that's what I was here for. So that anyone that came into my life and had expectations of me to meet, I would try to meet it. If not, I'd run away and cry because I couldn't cope, because it was too unsafe, because it was too much for me and I didn't understand. People say that being innocent is such a frigid thing. No, being innocent is, it feels like the safest thing because the other side has not been. Experiencing the most inhumane projections from human beings, where would you find safety in any part of life, including to have relationships if no one's ever shown you that? So I had to figure it out myself. And here I am today.
I think you have yet again dropped a lot of truth bombs there just now because, yes, when it comes to innocence, not only does it get labeled and stigmatized, but also, as you said in your own experiences, the person that is a virgin, the person that is not as experienced as maybe their friends or whatever in their circle, it always gets blamed on them and their own behavior.
Yes.
And it's
Yep.
like,
You're the problem.
why is it my responsibility? I don't understand. Like, why
Yep.
does it have to be about who I am as a person? Especially, and this is something that I have to say, innocence is safe, absolutely. And your innocence as a person in this world is something that is sacred and something for you to protect, because so many people out there want to take advantage of that. You have people
Yep.
who are fetishizing it, who want to buy virginity, things like that. And so
Yes.
it blows my mind, because we are living in a society, and this is so evident, that uses women as if they're objects,
Yep.
treats a human body as if it's something to use for their own benefit, when in reality that is a sacred connection and relationship that you not only have with yourself, but then with the other person that you invite into the picture whenever that
Mm.
time is right. And that person has to do a lot of things for them to be able to get that access to you. And yet that is somehow
Exactly.
looked down upon.
Yep.
Because what, you're not easy access, men don't have access to you? Who makes that look bad? And then we have other
Yep.
women who want to shame you, because it's like, well, I'm super free and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And then oh my gosh, this conversation goes so deep. I can't even mention everything that's coming up, but it's just like, in society, this is something that I myself have realized. We really give platform to a lot of over sexualization, to the point where
Yeah.
we don't even see the human being anymore. We just see the body, or the things that they do, or the things that they can provide for the other person for pleasure. And that is not what our bodies are for, in my opinion. And then we have people who
Mm.
are like, well, I'm liberated. This is part of being a liberated person. It's like, are you liberated? Or did men make you believe you're liberated by giving up your body to make it easier for them? But people don't like having that conversation. So I'm just grazing around it. I'm just perusing, making a little drive-by, just and a different version, a different opinion, maybe a different view of things. But I think at the end of the day, you have to be okay with your decision. It's not for somebody else to decide for you, no matter what it is you do, no matter where it is you stand on this subject or any other subject in life. You have to make sure that you're okay with what you do and who you allow access to you. And
Yeah.
this really goes back into the whole, things being very unbalanced within the masculine, the feminine, life, society, and how we live as people within the societies in which we occupy. Um, and just bringing it back to having more conversations, being more honest with ourselves, and then please having boundary standards and limitations, and really taking your time. There is no pressure, and nobody in this world should pressure you to do something or be something that you're not. That's all.
Exactly. Exactly. That is the mic drop to our entire conversation, is
Yes.
the journeys, the things that we've learned, the things that we've seen and experienced, and coming out of that in realization of what is human and what do we deserve.
Yeah.
And we both have, even though we fall back sometimes, and that's valid, it's going to happen in the journey, but we have an idea, and we know enough what we deserve. We know what we're going to accept, and we know what we're not.
Mhm.
And that and that is something that every human being should have a baseline on. It's the bare minimum, not just for others, for yourself, to know where it needs to be boundaried, to know what you're going to accept and what you're not going to accept, what you're going to tolerate and what you're not going to tolerate. How far are you going to go in that? These are the things that you evolve through, that you find out, and you should be open to that for you at the end of the day. It can be difficult. It can be difficult because people can make you feel certain ways about it, that you're selfish, that you have high, like we said, high standards. The stigmatization, you must be a feminist then if you have all these kind of ideologies. No, you're a human being, and this is the bare minimum. Point blank, end of discussion, dot point right there. Anyone can argue it. They want access to you in ways that go against that. Point blank again. You either accept that people know that they're human and what they deserve, or you just choose not to. And that's where we have a lot of our issues, because people don't know what that is yet. We're coming from, like I said, generations of belief systems that have been so dehumanizing completely.
Yeah.
Enough that people have gotten away with a lot of behaviors that they shouldn't have gotten away with. And that still happen to this day, that people stigmatize and victim blame on. I could go so far into that conversation too. You know? But for now, we'll definitely, I think, leave it at that.
Yes.
There'll be plenty more discussions, as we always say. And as I always say too when I post stuff, there's always more to the topic than just this. So even though we've said what we've said in this episode, there is plenty more discussions to be had. Plenty more.
Absolutely.
So until that time.
Thank you guys for joining us today. Yet again, another Sunday fun day with a lot of different conversations and deep topics.
Yes, always. We get deep. We get right into it, because why not?
Yeah. It's part of the human experience. Yes.
That's right. That's why we're called the Daily Humans, because we're about the human life.
Yes.
We should end it on the Macarena.
Macarena. I have no idea how that song goes.
You don't? What
do
you know? Do you know the ketchup song?
Oh, I hate the ketchup song. Oh my goodness.
Do you really? Why?
Oh no, I cannot. I've heard it too many times growing up. I was just like, no, please make it stop. It's like that frog song. I don't know if you remember that frog. Yeah, like what was it called? DJ Frog or whatever that little character was. Oh my god. I could not.
That one?
No.
Remember that too? That went so popular when that first came out. It was everywhere. Him on the bike.
Yes. I could not. I'm so glad that time in my life is over where I don't have to see him on TV anymore. Oh my god. But yeah, anyway, guys, thank you for joining us this weekend. I hope you guys have a wonderful week ahead. Make sure to, if you're on our YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you.
We're here every Sunday.
Yes, pop on in. Bye, guys.
You're invited. Bye.